Have you ever watched someone realize they were the villain in their own story? My roommate Jake thought he was being helpful. Every time I brought a girl over, he'd find ways to accidentally mention embarrassing stories about me. Like the time I cried watching Toy Story 3, or how I still sleep with a nightlight. Just keeping it real, bro. He'd laugh after they left early. He'd eat my labeled food, then buy me gas station snacks as payment. Or use my expensive shampoo, then replace it with dollar store stuff. Borrow my car, and return it empty. We're roommates. Everything's shared, right? The worst part was how he'd invite people over without telling me. I'd come home from work to find strangers in my living room, eating my food, using my Netflix. When I asked Jake about it, he'd shrug. They're cool people. You should socialize more instead of hiding in your room. He'd blast music at 2 a.m. when I had early shifts, then act confused when I complained. Dude, it's Friday night, live a little. But it happened on weekdays too. Jake would use my laptop without asking, downloading sketchy software that slowed everything down. When it got a virus, he blamed me for clicking weird links. I kept quiet because rent was cheap and I couldn't afford living alone. Plus, Jake had this way of making me feel like I was overreacting about everything. Why are you always so stressed? He'd say. It's just stuff, man. But last month, Jake started dating my coworker Sarah. She'd come over constantly, and suddenly my own apartment felt like their space. They'd cook elaborate meals using all my groceries, then leave the dishes for me. Sarah started leaving her things everywhere. Makeup on the bathroom counter, clothes in the laundry room, shoes by the door. It felt like she was slowly moving in without contributing to rent. One evening, I came home to find them using my expensive kitchen knives to open packages. The blades were chipped. Relax, Jake said when I pointed it out. They're just knives. They're $60 knives. Then maybe don't buy such fancy stuff if you're gonna be weird about people using it. Sarah giggled. They both looked at me like I was the problem. One night, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. Why is Marcus so weird about everything? Sarah asked. He's just uptight, Jake replied. Probably jealous I'm getting laid and he's not. Dude's been single for like 2 years. They both laughed. My stomach twisted. Maybe you should find a new roommate, Sarah suggested. Nah, he pays half the rent and does most of the cleaning. Plus, he's got that good job, so he can afford the nice stuff I get to use. It's perfect. You're terrible, Sarah laughed. What? I'm just being smart. Why pay full rent when Marcus is basically subsidizing my lifestyle? That's when it hit me. I wasn't his roommate. I was his personal ATM and cleaning service. The next morning, I started apartment hunting. Within a week, I found a studio across town. Small, but it was mine. I told Jake I was leaving in 2 weeks. His face went white. Wait, what? You can't just abandon me. I can't afford this place alone. Figure it out, I said, packing my stuff. Come on, don't be dramatic. I was just joking around. You know I don't mean that stuff. You meant every word. Jake tried everything. He offered to split utilities differently. Promised to buy his own food. Even said Sarah could visit less. But I was done. I'll change, man. I'll be better. You had 2 years to be better. Sarah broke up with him 3 days later. Apparently, she asked my other coworkers about Jake during a work happy hour. They told her exactly what kind of person he was, how he'd complain about her constantly, call her clingy, and joke about trading up. Wait, he talks about me like that? She asked my friend Lisa. All the time. We thought you knew. Jake called me crying after she dumped him. Sarah left me. She said I'm toxic. This is all your fault for turning people against me. I never said a word to Sarah. Then why did she leave? Maybe because you are toxic, Jake. He begged me to come back, promising he'd change, that losing Sarah made him realize he needed to be better. But I was already settled in my new place. My studio is tiny, but quiet. No one eats my food or leaves dishes in the sink. No one brings strangers over at midnight. No one tells my dates embarrassing stories. Jake texted last week saying he had to move back with his parents because he couldn't find anyone willing to split rent with him. His Instagram stories show him alone in his childhood bedroom, posting motivational quotes about learning from mistakes. But yesterday, I saw him at a coffee shop with some guy who looked like a potential new roommate. I watched Jake turn on the charm, acting like the perfect, considerate friend. Some people never actually learn. They just get better at hiding who they really are. Sometimes people don't realize they're toxic until their victims stop enabling them. And sometimes that realization is